إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونتوب بالله ونستعين به. نشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له شهادة تحل لنا عند الله الشفاعة يوم لا ينفع مال ولا بنون إلا من أتى الله بقلب سليم. صلاة الله وسلامه على خير خلق الله أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آله وصحابته والتابعين لهم بإحسان إلى يوم لا ينفع مال ولا بنون إلا من أتى الله بقلب سليم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. أما بعد فيا عباد الله عليكم بتقوى الله عز وجل في السر والعلن، واعلموا أنكم مجازون أمام الله سبحانه وتعالى يوما يحاسب كل نفس ويجازيها بأعمالها وثواب مناسبة خيرا كان أم شرا. فمن كانت مثقال ذرة ومن كان مثقال ذرة خيرا يرى ومن كان مثقال ذرة شرا يرى. كلما فعلت في الدنيا هذه تقبله عند الله جزاء. فخطبتنا اليوم إن شاء الله تتركز على مفهوم وفقه سجود التلاوة. سجود التلاوة موضوع يتكون كلمتين، أعني التلاوة والسجود. كما عرفنا أن السجود ركن من أركان الصلاة، وكما عرفنا كذلك أن التلاوة نوع من أنواع العبادة. إذن فالجمع بين الاثنين مبين بفقه وأدب وشروط. التلاوة المفهوم منها قراءة القرآن تعبدا لله تعالى بكل وقارة وسكينة واتيان كل حرف حقا. وأما السجود كما قلت سابقا نوع من العبادة، فلذلك يتركز كلامنا اليوم على هذا الأمر. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we glorify His name, we also testify to His oneness. May His peace and blessings continue to be upon the noble soul of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. May He subhanahu wa ta'ala extend His blessings to all His household, His companions, and those who follow His teachings till the day of accountability. Ameen. Today's khutbah, as I announced, centers on the understanding behind sujood tilawa. When we say sujood tilawa, that implies prostration while reciting the noble Qur'an. What are the lessons? What are the rulings surrounding prostration while reciting the noble Qur'an? First of all, there are two principal words in this theme, that is prostration and as well as recitation. Prostration simply refers to a fashion or a component among the components of Salah. If you are to observe Salah, Al-Qiyam, standing, is a component of Salah. Ruku' is a component of Salah. Sujood, which means prostration, is also a component of Salah. Likewise as sujood, al-julus, sitting is also a component of Salah. So, prostration, which is expected to be done while reciting Qur'an, is the center of discussion on this khutbah. I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue guiding our affairs. May He increase us in beneficial knowledge, and may He subhanahu wa ta'ala make it a stepping stone and salvation for us on the day of accountability. Amen. The manner in which we are expected to recite Qur'an is clearly stated in Qur'an al-Karim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the glorious Qur'an says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا. Allah in this verse, that is in Surah Al-Muzammil, verse 4, Almighty Allah says, وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا. He directed this message to the Prophet ﷺ to serve as a lesson for the entire Muslim Ummah. Allah in this verse, وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا, which means, and recite the Qur'an in slow, measured rhythm, in a measured rhythm tone. Which means, when you are to recite Qur'an, you are not expected to speed while reciting Qur'an. Whoever speeds while reciting Qur'an, such a person is going to commit blunder. There is no doubt about that. For example, you are to recite Surah Al-Fatiha, now in a very speed manner. There's no way you recite that in that manner that you never commit error. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Quran forewarned us and also advised us to recite Quran in a very steady manner. رَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ, recite Quran تَرْتِيلًا, in a steady mode, in a slow mode, and in a very melodious manner. When you are reciting Quran in a very good manner, for example, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin. There is no way to recite Quran in that manner that you yourself will not feel it. That is وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا. Recite the noble Quran in slow and in a melodious manner. This is the recitation of Quran. When you are reciting Quran in this manner, you will be able to have a good pronunciation of your recitation. You pronounce ha where it's supposed to be pronounced. Likewise a, likewise za, likewise sa, and the likes. You don't misplace any letter with another when you are reciting in a very steady manner. So also, whoever recites Quran in this manner, such a person will be able to abide by the rules. That is, the rules that are met out by the scholars of Tajweed. So also, the word sujood, that is one part, recitation. The sujood is a component of salah, as I said earlier. So when you are to make your sujood, there are manners in which we are to do our sujood. You can't just demonstrate the posture of sujood without the lessons and the rulings around it. For example, the hadith of Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu, he said, عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنه وسعد بن أبي وقاص قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا سجد العبد سجد معه 7 آراب وجهه وكفاه وركبتاه وقدماه. The Prophet ﷺ, according to this hadith, which is reported by Imam Muslim in the narration of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, and as well as Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas, the Prophet ﷺ says, when a servant of Allah prostrates, 7 limbs also prostrates with him. That means if you are to prostrate, 7 things is ought to prostrate alongside you. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned these 7 things: his face, his 2 palms, his 2 knees, and his 2 feet. When you are to do your sajda, your face, that is your forehead. When you are talking about face, that means your forehead and your nose. That is number 1. Followed by your palms, that is your 2 palms, should also be laid down. I'm coming to that, inshallah. So 2 palms and face, that makes how many? That is 3. Your 2 knees, that is rukubatan, that makes it 5. Wa qadamah, that is your 2 feet. So these are the 7 things that ought to touch the ground when you are making your prostration. Your face, your 2 palms, your 2 knees, and your 2 feet. In advancement of this explanation, according to another hadith of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is narrated by Anas bin Malik radiyallahu anhu, عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال اعتدلوا في السجود ولا يبسط أحدكم ذراعيه انبساط الكلب. The hadith, according to Anas bin Malik, may Allah be pleased with him, he said, I heard the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam who said, if you are to prostrate, place your two palms, that is your two palms, on the ground. Raise your elbows. That is, when you put it on the ground, you don't enclose your elbows to your what? To your body. You raise your elbows. Do not spread your forearms. That is like this. You don't spread it like this. Like a dog spreads his feet. You don't spread your hand like this. When you spread your hand like this, it is going to prostrate, it's going to demonstrate as if a dog is what? Prostrating. You enclose your fingers. All your fingers will be closed. Then you place it on the ground the way it's supposed to be placed. This is the lesson learned from the hadith reported by Imam Muslim according to the narration of Anas bin Malik radiyallahu anhu. So now we have understood the manner in which everyone should always prostrate. Do not forget these 7 parts of your body that ought to be what? Placed on the ground. There is another hadith of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is also narrated by Ibn Abbas. May Allah be pleased with him. عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال لا صلاة لمن لم يمس أنفه الأرض. The hadith says, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, there is no prayer for the one whose nose does not feel much on the ground. In this hadith, that means if you are prostrating, you place your forehead on the ground and you do not allow your nose to touch the ground, that means your prostration is not complete. And once your prostration is not complete, your salat remains invalid. This is hadith, it's a direct hadith. Unfortunately today, thousands of Muslims do commit this flimsy error. They do commit this flimsy error. Most do prostrate without having their noses touching the ground. We have to take note of this. These are the minor things that can prevent us to earn the reward of our good deeds, especially salah. I'm advising every one of us, let us go and learn our salah. When you learn about salah, you'll be able to have the comfortability about yourself. That I have done it according to the best of my knowledge. So when you don't search for knowledge, especially about salah, there is no excuse for anyone, for any Muslims, for any Muslim who does not know about salah. We have millions of Muslims today. They were born as Muslims. They grow up as Muslims. And they died as Muslims. And they prayed. They observed the salawat. They also proceed by observing nawafil. But yet, all the salat that they observed throughout their lifetime is not reckoned on. This is not because of anything, it's because of these flimsy errors which we do commit here in and here out. So there is no excuse for you as a Muslim not to learn about your religion. Especially if you don't go to madrasa, try to meet people of knowledge to teach you the Qur'ān in Islam, the pillars of Islam. If you don't know more than this should be okay for you. Know about your salah, know about your soul, know your shahadatan. After that, know how to perform, know how to observe your fasting. That is some Ramadan. So also the Hajj. And how to what? How to pay zakat. When you are able to learn these 5 pillars of Islam, definitely you have gone far as Islam is concerned. So there is no excuse for any Muslim not to learn about Islam. Secondly, the surah, the verses, the chapters in which sujood tilawa is expected to be made. So in Qur'an, when you are reciting Qur'an, when you get to some particular verses, you see that there is an indication of underlining it, that something is under the verse. When you see a line under any particular verse, that means you have to stop in that verse and observe or you perform your prostration. And that verse is called Ayatul Sajda, that is verse of prostration. The verse of prostration, you have to stop, you prostrate, then you continue your recitation of the Qur'an. So for us to know, for example, Surah Al-A'raf, verse 206, Surah Al-Ra'd, verse 15, Surah Al-Nahl, verse 49 and 50, Surah Al-Isra, verse 109, Surah Al-Maryam, verse 58, Surah Al-Hajj, verse 18 and 77, Surah Al-Furqan, verse 60, Naml, verses 25 and 26, Sajda, verse 15, Sod, verse 24, Fusilat, verse 38, Najm, verse 62, Al-Inshiqaq, verses 20 and 21. So also the last one is Surah Al-Alaq, verse 19. So these are the verses of the Quran in which when you come across them, you stop over, you stop by, then you prostrate, then you continue. So how do we now prostrate? What do we do? How do we prostrate? The scholars, they explain extensively on this part of arts. It is in 2 ways, which inshallah we are going to continue the explanation in the second phase of the khutbah. Astaghfirullah ta'ala wa atubu ilayhi ayyuha ibad, innahu huwal ghafurur rahim. Alhamdulillah, salatan wa salaman ala rasulillah wa alihi wa sahbihi wa mawalah. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who made us Muslims. We pray to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue His guide on us. May He subhanahu wa ta'ala count me and you among the successful ones here and hereafter. Ameen. As I said earlier, we have 2 modes in which we observe our procession while reciting Qur'an. Number 1 is recitation of the Qur'an coming across verse of Sajda outside Salah. When you are only reciting Qur'an and you come across verse of prostration, then you have to prostrate. So also, if you are not on Salah, what do you do? How do you do? The first thing, you do your niyyah, you bring your niyyah. Your niyyah to sajda. That's number 1. After that, you say you face Qibla For example, it is one of the etiquette of recitation of Qur'an for you to face Qibla. You don't recite Qur'an while facing elsewhere. It is recommended to face Qibla while reciting Qur'an. It is very good. So when you come across this verse, that is any verse that has to do with sajda, then if eventually you did not face Qibla, then you have to turn your direction towards Qibla. When you turn your direction towards Qibla, the next thing is to say your takbir, that is Allahu Akbar. When you say your Allahu Akbar, you say Allahu Akbar while going for prostration. Now, as I said earlier, when you prostrate, 7 things need to touch the ground. Your face alongside your nose. That is your face, that which consists of what? Your forehead and your nose. Then your palms. You what? You enclose your fingers. And your palms will also touch the ground. That is 3. So also your knees. Then your 2 feet. So all together makes it what? 7 things. When you say Allahu Akbar and you touch the ground with this part of your body, the next thing you do, you say Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la. In another narration, it is also said that one can say Sajada wajhi lilladhi fatara as-samawati wal ard hanifan wa ma ana min al-mushrikeen. But if you cannot say that, your Allahu Akbar is enough for you. Then when you do that, then you now raise your head from prostration by saying Allahu Akbar. That's all. Which means Allahu Akbar will be said twice. And you say your Subhana Rabbiyal A'la within the 2 takbirat. May Almighty Allah continue to be with us. Now, what is another etiquette of reciting Quran and coming across Ayat al-Sajda? Whoever recites Quran in the hearings of people are hearing and listening to your recitation, definitely when you come across Ayat al-Sajda, you have to go on prostration, and the listeners too will join you to go on prostration. This is the sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whenever the Prophet was reciting verse that has sajda, even for example, if he was standing, he will go on prostration. He will lift down, he will descend from the pulpits. Then he will do sajda while facing the Qibla. Then people around him will do the same. We have to understand all this. Some other conditions, that is in the phase of recitation alone. But what if you are in a situation whereby you are observing Salah? When you are observing Salah and you accidentally pass across a verse that has to do with sajda, how do you do? That is in many versions. Number 1, we have to look at the condition of the imam, then the condition of the ma'mum, then which kind of salah. We have to look at all this. If time does not permit, inshallah ta'ala, the next khutbah will continue to explain in detail so that we equally understand the etiquette around it. Now, in brief, if someone is reciting Qur'an while observing Salah, then you come across verse. Originally, anyone who intends to recite chapter that has ayat al-sajda before you observe the salah, if you intend to recite it, that invalidates your salah. Let us understand that. You have it at the back of your mind that I am going to observe my salah, I'm going to recite ayat al-sajda. When you do that, you invalidate your salah. Why? It's because you intended to increase the volume of the salah with what? With sajda. Because it is sunnah for you to recite, and when you come across ayat al-sajda, you do what? You prostrate. So when you now have the intention initially before you observe salah, definitely your salah will what? You added to your salah. That means you have added to your salah. And once you add to your salah intentionally, your salah is invalid. One doesn't do it intentionally. It is done accidentally. That is number one point we have to understand. Secondly, the person who is reciting, who is observing salat all alone, when you come across sajda, it is not necessary for you to prostrate. That is number two. It is not necessary. If you want, you can do it, but it's not necessary. That is number two. Number three, we don't recite verse that has to do with sajda in two occasions. One, in salah that we normally observe silently, like Asr and Zuhur. You know, throughout Asr and Zuhur, you don't recite aloud. You don't recite loudly. So there is no way for you to recite sajda here. When you do that as a imam, that means you are bringing confusion to your ma'mum, because he doesn't know what and which surah you are reciting. You don't recite ayat sajda, also sajda, on these two versions of salah, that is az-zuhur wal asr. Secondly, we don't recite any chapter that consists sajda on salatul janaza. You know, we observe salatul janaza all through while standing. Janaza, that is the final rite. We do it all through while standing. So إذن لا يسجد لا تكون في الصلاة الجنازة is لا سجود فيها أصلا. Originally, janaza is observed while standing all through. So we know that it is in sunnah for you to prostrate when you come across any verse that has to do with sajda. So you don't bring any chapter that has ayat al-sajda in Salat al-Janaza. It is a no-go area. May Almighty Allah continue to be with us, guide our affairs, and grant us beneficial knowledge. And may He subhanahu wa ta'ala endow us with absolute salvation from all torments in this world and the world after. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا فإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين وأذل الشرك والمشركين ودمر أعداءك أعداء الإسلام وانصر عبادك الموحدين وكن معنا ولا تكن علينا يا أرحم الراحمين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. أقيموا الصلاة.